We really need to be innovative. Like we need to think outside of the box, all the time to create good projects out of nowhere. So I totally understand how they created like a model like more efficient with like 6% of the budget of OpenAI, and so it's impressive.
Yeah, creativity comes out of constraints. If you have too much, if you don't focus, it's really hard to be innovative and be creative because you need to be hyper focused. I remember reading as well that they wanted to use PhD students just straight out of university of the top universities in China to work in this because they wanted fresh eyes into it. And then, well, it paid off, right? So they took a different approach as well. And then that also tells us another lesson, I guess, is that today we'll be talking about China's latest advancement in artificial intelligence, DeepSeek. We will explore what this means for the global AI landscape and its potential impact on the US dominance in the field. Before we start, we're excited to announce that we'll be hosting an interactive live hands-on workshop on February the 12th. In this workshop, we want to guide you step by step on how to discover your unique passions and strengths, brainstorm actionable business ideas tailored to you, and take the first step towards building a business that aligns with you and your goals. It's totally free. If you want more details on how to sign up, check the link below in the show notes. Now, let's go to the episode. I'm Daniel,
I'm Matheus.
and this is the Human AI Experience. Recently, an AI lab in China shocked Silicon Valley with the release of DeepSeek, an AI model that's basically surpassed famous names like OpenAI's ChatGPT-4, Anthropic's Claude, Sonnet, and Meta's Llama, and also beat other benchmarks. So the tests included like coding, solving mathematical problems, and even debugging code. So the
Mhm.
story doesn't stop here. Shortly after DeepSeek V3, which is the first model that they released that broke all the records, they released a reasoning model called DeepSeek R1. And that model outperformed OpenAI's latest O1 model, which is the reasoning one, in aspects of such as like math, coding, and some general knowledge as well. So yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I have heard about that in all my social media. So it was invaded last week. Like so many videos, a lot of people talking about DeepSeek. But do you know how did DeepSeek achieve this level of innovation? Do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, I know a little bit how it actually started, right? So funny enough, they DeepSeek basically is a deep learning branch of Highflyer, which is a Chinese hedge fund. So it wasn't a tech company or it wasn't like an AI company. They were managing stocks basically, and so they're not related to any uh, tech company. Their expertise was basically to improve computational efficiency, and that came from years of stock trading. And that actually played a crucial role in building the R1 model, which is the reasoning model, despite a lot of resources limitations. And what do I mean by that? So in October 2022, as far as I recall, the US imposed some export restrictions on advanced hardware by Nvidia, more specifically H100 chips, forcing Chinese companies to deal with outdated software, right, and hardware, basically. So, so initially, apparently, DeepSeek bought 10,000 H100s Nvidia chips,
Chips.
but they realized that they needed a lot more to compete, right? It was there's a huge computational power needed. So their strategy actually involved in optimizing their models to maximize that efficiency. And that included basically streamlining data exchange between chips to save memory optimization as well, and mixing up models So they would take smaller models and use it to enhance the performance of the bigger models. That was basically their groundbreaking achievement.
So they are using fewer resources in somehow. And how do they like compare their model with the other AI models, like in terms of cost and investments? And
So the DeepSeek cost efficient is crazy, is insane. If you think about that, OpenAI spent $100 million to just build ChatGPT and to train ChatGPT 4. DeepSeek basically did their model with 6 million, basically. So like a fraction of
yeah,
costs, and the apparently based on the benchmarks, we don't want to get too technical here. It exceeded ChatGPT's model, so they made a lot more with less. And also, they are
mhm,
taking a completely different approach. They are going open source. They released their not just their most powerful models, but their six smaller versions that they used before that had like for 1.5 billion or to 70 billion parameters. And we can talk a little bit more about parameters. What does that mean? But this level of transparency has actually gave them global recognition as an AI disruptor in the field. And ironically, this is the opposite of what OpenAI decided to do, right? By closing their models and going full for profit.
but you mentioned about parameters, but can you explain a little bit how they and why they matter and how they work?
So parameters are like brain cells in the case of AI. So it enables the model to learn from complex patterns of data. So the more parameters a model has, the more capable of handling sophisticated tasks. So DeepSeek's models basically achieved like impressive results with a fraction of the cost and with much less, with a lot of less parameters. So they really optimize the use of their resources.
Yeah. Did they use less energy too? Like if you're using less parameters, they use more less energy? Is it true, this quote?
I think so. It's more energy efficient, even though the energy efficiency is related to the hardware that they're using, right? So they kind of had to find a way that with the same energy they would basically outperform or do a lot more,
Yeah.
and they basically found a way, right?
That's a really impressive work, you know. And as I mentioned before, like I really have seen like some examples, which made me downloaded the app. So I'm still gonna try it like this next. But with all this information and everything that you told me, what can we learn from this?
I think DeepSeek's story teaches an important lesson, and we've been talking about regulation of innovation, right? But that's the thing. They had less resources, and they innovated. They basically innovated and managed to outpace or outperform like the top the leader of AI development, right? So so innovation actually thrives under constraints. So the team's ability there to innovate despite the limited resources and all the sanctions and U.S. embargoes in terms of technology, they managed to succeed, and their AI required it didn't require like a massive budget, right? And that also highlights for me a critical point in regards to transparency, right? By open sourcing their models, DeepSeek not only basically democratized AI, but also provided like a fresh perspective what you can do with efficient engineering, right? So now everybody can learn from that. And I think it
Yeah,
also exposed some potential issues in the US AI landscape. So are these American companies inflating their costs or and capitalizing on the AI hype? I think that's a question that we need to ask ourselves, right?
yeah.
Because they basically asked for a lot of money, but perhaps you don't need that much to actually increase efficiency, right? And the proof is DeepSeek. So that raises questions about whether what we're seeing now is real innovation or just clever marketing. So it's
Yeah,
really good to have an outside perspective coming from a Chinese company that no was under the radar for everybody. Um, yeah, I think it's invaluable.
yeah. But no, I feel that I kind of relate with their reality because as Brazilians, like we both know that the lack of resources that we usually have in companies. So we really need to be innovative. Like we need to think outside of the box, all the time to create like good material and good projects out of nowhere. So I totally understand how they created like a model like more efficient with like 6% of the budget of OpenAI. So that is impressive, and I totally relate with that. Like thinking about the Brazilian perspective of innovation.
Yeah, creativity comes out of constraints. If you have too much, if you don't focus, it's really hard to be innovative and be creative because you need to be hyper focused. And I remember reading as well that they wanted to use PhD students just straight out of university of the top universities in China to work in this because they wanted to like just fresh eyes into it. And then well, it paid off, right? So they took a different approach as well. And then that also tells us another lesson, I guess, is that not always the most skilled and more experienced person will actually come out with a breakthrough, right? And perhaps maybe they needed fresh eyes to see where they could actually optimize these processes.
Yeah, and have you tried the DeepSeek already?
I've tried a bit. What I well, first of all, I think it's great because it's free to use. It also already searches Google for you as well, and this week I guess they basically are in the top charts of the app store. So it's the most downloaded app in the free chart of the app store. I think globally. So yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
everyone should try it.
Yeah, I want to try it. And can you create like images from that to look or just text? How does it work?
I think it's an LLM. I haven't tried to generate images because yeah, it's a reasoning model, so it will actually tell you uh, how it got to the conclusion of the answer that it got you, similar to what ChatGPT 001 was doing, right? So it would try to solve this
Yeah,
mathematical equation or this mathematical problem, and then it will give you the reasoning. So, oh, I analyzed this, I made this calculation, and I came up to this result. It does the same, but more efficiently.
yeah. That's pretty much interesting. I'm really curious about it. I'm ready to check if it's better than ChatGPT. I'll definitely migrate, to DeepSeek. I feel that people should do the same. Like it's my lesson. Don't get too much attached to technologies. If you see something better, just go for it. Like, no, don't lose your time with outdated stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that it's open source. So I guess a lot of people will start studying and dissecting the model to see how they actually achieve more with less. And we're probably going to see in the near future all these big companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Meta, implementing some of these shortcuts that they unveil
Yeah,
with DeepSeek. Right? So the competition is going to increase, and let's hope they also take a more open source approach as well, right? And don't be too greedy into it because I guess everybody wins from that.
yeah, definitely. The we can see from Linux and from Android when they open source everything. So you see a lot of innovations and new systems, being created from that. But it creates an ecosystem which is amazing. So it's pretty much interesting. And probably a lot of companies are gonna rise like from this model. Like
Oh, and
we
it
might
work
see.
because it's open source. You can basically run locally.
Yeah,
You don't need to send it to the cloud. Of course, the app that is on the App Store now is going using their cloud, right? So it's running in a cloud somewhere, but
yeah,
you can easily install it and run it locally, and then it's already pretty good. Uh, so why not use it, right? If it's in a confined space. So yeah,
yeah,
it's quite revolutionary. I think we need more of that.
yeah. It might create a way of companies to have like a really powerful model like that is locally installed in your computer and not like sending your classified documents outside. So it might be a big step for in company AIs.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you're considering implementing that in your company right away. You don't need to start with any of the. I think it's ChatGPT 3.5 that is still open source, or it's like a very outdated version, right? So you can get this one that is
Yeah,
fresh, just came out. It's outperforming all the others, and it's free. So
yeah,
let's hope
it's
this
amazing.
disrupts a bit the scenario and it brings more innovation. So I want to keep an eye on it, and then I want to also use more myself.
Yeah,
But yeah, but that's it. Just wanted to just talk about that because it just happened, and then I think it's quite a big event because it's been disrupting and it got caught everybody off guard. We're gonna put the link for you to try on the show notes.
great,
Let us
great.
hear what did you think about if you used DeepSeek.
We should make another episode about that after we use it more the models,
Yeah,
and then people can comment and we can discuss the points.
noted. Let's do that. But right now, I think we just wanted to talk a little bit about. So that's it for today. We reached the end of our episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It's free and helps us a lot. This way, it can help us also reach new listeners. Oh, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date on our latest episodes. If you have any questions for us, reach out to us at hello@humanaixp.com or connect with us on Instagram. Thanks for listening. See you next week.